All right, here we go. Well, I want to welcome everyone to our first webinar interview, and I hope to be doing many more webinars of this nature. Some of them will be interviews, as well as some will be on specific topics, but of course, all of them will be related to the Convention of States mission here in Indiana. So I just ask that you please keep yourself muted unless you want to ask a question or make a comment. And if you do, then unmute. Let us know who it is. Introduce yourself, that is. Also on tonight with me is David Waters, the other co-Indiana State Director. And he'll be monitoring the chat screen for any questions. So he can, of course, feel free to step in and ask a question. So let's get started. We're very pleased and fortunate this evening to have for our first interview Ms. Jacquie Peterson, the Senior Vice President. Hello. Senior Vice President for Convention of States. And hi, Jacquie. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. I'm very pleased to be here and very glad and grateful to be on the call with y'all.
Great, great. Well, you can't see the screen here. Then you're just on your phone, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, we have a big picture of you on the screen.
Hi.
That's a good picture, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Well, this evening with Jacquie, we want to learn a bit more about you, Jacquie, as well as your Convention of States experience. And most of all, we wanted to talk to you about what your vision is for Convention of States going forward.
Okay.
So let's get started by learning some more about Jacquie. And so, Jacquie, tell us about your personal history. Where are you from?
I'm from Indianapolis. I grew up on the northwest side of Indianapolis with my mom and dad and 3 sisters. I'm the oldest of 4 girls. And my father started out working at General Motors and Speedway and got laid off. And in the interim of that period, he started doing construction, which led to our whole family doing construction in the United States of America, renovating hotels around the United States. So he started out real small, took a chance, and I like to think of my parents as the original Americans with the entrepreneurial spirit, right, that they passed along to all of us.
Right.
And,
so
when I was growing up, yes, I'm sorry.
Did he then take jobs all around the country and you moved with him?
Well, actually what happened was he did a very small job up on the north side at a hotel called Red Roof Inn. And back in those days, this was the late 70s, early 80s, there weren't any Hampton Inns, Hilton Garden Inns, Marriott Courtyards, any of that. So the businessman's hotel at that time was Red Roof Inn, which was owned by the Truman family out of Ohio. And we ended up being one of 3 contractors that renovated all of the Red Roof Inns across America. So we didn't have to move. We were always based here in Indiana. And we went from about a $250,000 a year revenue business to when I closed my business this last fall, we were doing $9.5 million a year. And our biggest year was about $13.5 million in renovations around the country. Yeah.
So you continued the business then?
Yeah, I had a brief period, and when I think it was back in 2005, because we just continued to expand and grow the business, but Hyatt Hotels was in the market to create the Hyatt Place brand, and they approached me to be the Assistant Vice President of Technical Services. And so I had the opportunity of going to work for Global Hyatt Hotels, and I was I worked there and was relocated to Georgia for in 2005. So I lived down there and did that, created the Hyatt Place brand, and then moved back into general contracting, which I did with my husband, who passed away in 2014.
Okay, yes, I knew you. Your husband had passed away, 2014. Yes. Jackie, do you have any children?
I do. I have 3 children, and they are 28, 26, and 22, all out on their own. My daughters are married. I have 3 grandsons through one of my daughters, and my son's trying to get into shape to get into the military now that Obama's gone. He has my permission to join the military.
Oh, really?
That he's always wanted to do, yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Where do they live?
One of them lives here in Franklin, Indiana, and the other 2 live in Georgia. So I just relocated back here to Indiana with my parents here. They had a huge home that they were trying to sell, couldn't do it. So I'm living here now in Nineveh, Indiana.
Okay. All right.
And after I lost my husband, I continued to operate the business and finish all the obligations that we had. And then in October, it just wasn't the same. And I was like, well, if I have 15 years left in a career or 10 years left in a career, I think I really want to dedicate all my time to making a difference in America. And I had first gotten involved with Convention of States in 2013. I got a call out of the blue, and I could give you a little bit more history on that, but I got a call out of the blue from Mark Meckler in early September of 13, and he asked me to be the Georgia State Director, which I agreed to do. My husband and I talked about it, and we proceeded to organize and work Georgia, and we filed Georgia the opening day of legislative session on January 7th, 2014, and we had it passed by March of 2014 in Georgia. So that was quite an extraordinary accomplishment from all of us Convention of States folks in Georgia. Mm-hmm. And from there, I went to Helping National and became a co-national grassroots director with Jenny Rapini as a volunteer, and then eventually co-director of Convention of States with Scott. And then when my husband got sick, I had to step out for a period of time. So
yeah, I've moved on to another slide here, which was to ask you to talk about your Convention of States history. So you've pretty well gotten into that. Was your husband involved in Convention of States?
Yes, he was a district captain in Georgia, yes.
He was. Okay.
Yes. And our children down there went to the State House and helped with everything. So it was pretty exciting for our family to experience that with Convention of States.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what is your you came up through as a state director in Georgia, the first passed state.
Yes, sir.
So what is your role then as senior vice president?
Well, I do a little bit of everything. So on a day-to-day basis.
That seems to be correct.
Yes, I have my hands in everything. Really, my expertise is in operations. I mean, I know how to run multiple teams in multiple states. I mean, I get all that experience from the corporate construction that I've done over the years, managing big programs, and it's such an honor, and it's so humbling to work with so many great Americans, and to be able to have the opportunity to utilize all the skills that I've earned and learned in my 50 years of life is a pretty extraordinary thing. That all of us being involved in the saving of our country is pretty extraordinary.
I think I know I've certainly have fallen back on things that I learned during my business career, and I think the skills and experience and education that one gets in the business world is certainly applicable in the Convention of States movement.
It is. It's funny, Dale, but last week I looked up at my dad and I just said, because you got to know, I mean, Hoosiers, we are, I don't know how to explain it. We are just really nice people. We're hard workers. I can remember my dad staying up till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning teaching himself DOS, right? And getting the first handy computer. Really? Yeah, and he would stay up all night and he would teach himself that stuff. And he ended up writing databases with Lotus. And all of when he taught me how to write databases, all of that knowledge that I have is really applicable to the tools that we have with Convention of States. You have to understand databases, how they work, and when you understand how that data works, knowledge is power, right? Mm-hmm. And if you know how to look at data, data is power. And that's why I'm really grateful to have had all of that experience, because it comes in really handy with Convention of States.
I can agree with that. Well, mm-hmm. Since we're talking about roles in Convention of States, I felt like this was probably as good a place as any to inject the big question about the announcement today, and that's Jim DeMint joining Convention of States. What is his role going to be, Jackie?
He's going to be a senior advisor, and he's going to act somewhat like Tom Coburn in the fact that he's going to provide expert testimony, but he also has, from his experience in the Senate and Heritage Foundation, a lot of connections, a lot of donor connections. I don't know how many of you may have been at the first Tea Party rally in Washington, D.C., but I remember very clearly being there, and the two gentlemen that I met there were Mike Pence and Jim DeMint, and they were out there with us in the crowd, and they were talking to people and shaking people's hands, and those two gentlemen are really great conservatives in our country, and Jim is going to bring us a lot of expertise and a lot of know-how in Washington, D.C. that we don't have right now.
What happened to him at Heritage? Do you know?
I don't know. What I would guess, and this is just my own guess, is that he probably wanted to do more than a think tank would be willing to do. Think tanks generally sit back and, publish papers and things like that. But I don't have any inside knowledge in particular. I just know how I would feel if I worked at a think tank. I would probably lose my mind. When you're an operator and you're a doer, it's kind of hard just to sit back and think about it. You know what I mean?
So their loss is our gain, right?
You got it. And I think we're going to explode. It's going to really help our grassroots in ways that we have no idea.
Okay. Well, good. Okay. Well, what I wanted to get to with you, the kind of the crux, the main topic, and that is your vision for Convention of States. David and I are this is a hot topic for us because we are in the process of creating our vision for the state of Indiana. And so I wanted to find out from you, with all the things going on in Convention of States right now, what is your vision for Convention of States? Okay,
all right. I don't know.
Okay,
our mission at Convention of States has always been and will always be to create the largest, most active, most educated grassroots army this country has ever seen. And the reason why that is our mission is because, in my own humble opinion, Americans have forgotten. They have forgotten their civic duty, and we have abdicated our power to Washington, D.C. and our elected officials in ways that would have never happened in 1776. I mean, you think about the reason that the colonists rebelled was for like a 3% tax on tea that most people couldn't even afford, and the heavy-handed governance of a faraway king, right? So what we have to do as Americans, The quote that I gave you is we have to teach America how to be Americans again. And we need to be civically active. We need to be aware. We need to be involved. We need to know what's going on, because until we take responsibility for our own governance, then we deserve whatever we get.
Yes, yes.
But there are many, many Americans who believe, like I do, that it's time we really stood up and took our duty seriously and take responsibility for our own governance, because we've only gotten here to where we are today because we've abdicated our power and because we've been so busy thinking that it's not important when really governance is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
Right. Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, well, the theme coming through in that to me is self-governance, and so I think I can truly understand what you're saying. Yes.
Yes, and it's a lot about personal accountability in reality, don't you think?
Okay. Yes. I can
Personal responsibility. How many times, I don't know how old you guys are, but I sit back and I listen to people and I listen to them talking, and really, if you think in your mind, I am responsible for that. If you always go back to, what is my role in that? How am I responsible for that? And you say, oh man, the IRS has taken 69 cents of every dollar that I earn. Whose fault is that?
Mm-hmm.
It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
If you say it's my responsibility, it's my fault, then that gives us, each one of us, the power to do something about it. And that's exactly what we've been missing. Right? We had the greatest generation in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And times were good.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all of us here are products of that time in our history. But our history has not always been that great.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Okay.
you got to think about the Great Depression and all of those things. So history is just two words, his story. And I like to always say his story, her story, our story. And our future is up to us. And if we take that personally, and we become personally accountable for our future, then I think the entire way we look at governance will change. It has for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about y'all, but it has for me.
Good. Okay, thank you. Next, you can't see the list here on the screen, but
Mm-hmm.
I want you to talk briefly about some of the I call them strategy tools, concepts, programs
the plan would be eventually to not be working
that are going to be strategically important in accomplishing our vision.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so bad in summertime on the bike.
Okay, somebody's unmuted. We're getting some interference here. Okay. Well, the first one on the list is Citizen Builder.
Mm-hmm.
Can you comment just briefly on that? It's just really been introduced, but how is that going to? What kind of role is that going to play in us accomplishing our vision?
That is going to be huge. And the reason Citizen Builder is huge, as Jerry Rowe likes to say, Nation Builder was built for campaigns and it's national down. Citizen Builder is from the ground up. It's each one of us up. The whole paradigm in the way we've been thinking, national this, national that. Some people in the states think of our national office like the federal government. Oh, we need to provide this, or oh, we need to provide that. You guys need to do this, or you guys need. That's not how it really needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
It really needs to be from the states up, right? We should be able to pull stuff from you guys to show examples of greatness within the states, just like our federal government should be operating.
Mm-hmm.
And Nation Builder was created for campaigns. It wasn't created for long-term social organization. So it really severely limited us in our team building capacities and all other manner of things that Citizen Builder, because it's created just for us, it throws down the barriers to so many things. And the way that it's structured, when people come on, it's dynamic. So when you say you get a new petition signer and they get an email and they click on the www.conventionestates.com, when they go there, it's going to show them district news first, right? News in their district. Then it's going to show them regional news, like Southwest Indiana. And then it's going to show them state news, and then it's going to show them national news. The priority is on the district. So it's District 1, Region 2, State 3, National 3.
All right, somebody.
These are in this type of big family. Get all those rubbers.
Somebody needs to mute themselves. Okay. You still there, Jackie?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Okay. In case anyone on this call is not familiar with Citizens Builder, this is being rolled out. Should be effective mid-July, and it's basically a new system, and it's going to replace Nation Builder. And it's, believe me, we don't have time to go into it in much detail here. I just wanted Jackie to comment on it, but I saw I sent a link out to the video that I watched the other night on a national call, and it is awesome. It's going to change the way we all do our job in Convention Estates. I mean, it's going to change. It will affect all of us. So I just
Jackie,
go ahead.
Jackie, this is David Waters, and I had a question about Citizen Builder with the focus on the district and district news. Who will have access to provide that content?
Well, that's going to be up to you guys in the states. If it were me, we've really been giving the vision for the comms team to the states, right?
Right.
So knowing this was coming, we created the digital marketing coordinator position at National. And then under that person in our vision should be the Facebook editor, the webmaster, the state videographer, the state media liaison, the social media warriors, and that DMC should work with the executive team in order to manage the news and post the news, because you guys are going to be responsible for creating your own content. Say you have a district captain, say in Bloomington, right, who notices some things that need to be addressed in Bloomington, or they're having meetings, or any number of things, then that district captain could come in there and create a post that can be approved by the state team or the digital marketing coordinator. And then it gets posted up to, or say, for example, you've identified District 46 is a very important district in your state, right? Mm-hmm. You can put petition, like red petition buttons there. You can put recruiting buttons there. You guys are going to have so much more control over what goes out to your people in your states that it's almost incomprehensible compared to what we've been dealing with. But ultimately, the states should build out that comms team, because the state directors are not going to have time to do that, in my opinion.
Jackie, the comms team is another topic I had on the list here. Can you expand on that just a little bit more, comms team?
Yes. Okay. As this happens, okay, each state has their own Facebook page, and each state is going to have, instead of having a blog page like we have now, you're going to have control over all the content except for nationals, which is fourth priority, that people in Indiana are going to see when they come in. So that comms team, the state videographer and the Facebook editor and Okay, let me list it out because I'm getting kind of in the weeds. So you've got your digital marketing coordinator who's part of the executive team, and under that digital marketing coordinator needs to be a webmaster, the Facebook editor, the state videographer, the state media liaison, and the social media warrior team lead. Because,
Okay.
and if you'd like me to, I can talk about each one of those positions.
Well, no, that's no, not tonight.
Okay.
I just wanted to. I wanted to touch on that and just to identify that team for right now.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that David and I are trying to accomplish here in the state is getting the executive group to for everyone in the state to know more about them and to get them working directly with our regional captains and district captains. So it sounds to me like Citizens Builder is going to help that process along a great deal.
It will, and if I could take a moment to kind of explain that state executive team, because if you think of the digital marketing coordinator kind of like a producer, say a producer at Fox, and that producer, you know, everybody comes up with the hot stories, right? But that producer makes it happen, and that's kind of the role of the digital marketing coordinator. So, for example, say you've identified Evansville, Indiana as an area that you want to build because you don't have a district captain there and you really need to build up your volunteer base there, for example. You can go to your coalitions director and say, hey, coalitions director, what kind of groups are in Evansville, Indiana? And that coalitions director with the legislative liaison would say, well, let's go look at the donors for that legislator in the area and let's see what groups donate to that gentleman or that lady, that woman. And then they could craft a plan to launch on your Facebook page, launch that Facebook page directly into Evansville, Indiana. The state videographer then could make a video based on that industry, and the state information analyst could analyze the data of the people we currently have in conjunction with the coalitions director and identify those power bases within Evansville, Indiana. And all of a sudden, you found a district captain and you're presenting at all the local groups where you're going to come into the power bases there. And while you're doing that, the social media warriors are driving that messaging and making friends in Evansville, Indiana.
Okay, all right. Okay, and now Citizens Builder is to be rolled out about mid-July, and there are going to be stages to it, am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there are going to be stages to it, and everybody needs to know that this is something that's never, what we're all doing has never been done before, ever, what we're doing. And so this is a custom tool for us to use. So there are going to be challenges, but because we have Slack, we have a much greater ability to communicate almost instantaneously with each other, to know when there's problems, to know when we need to change something, to know what's working, what's not working, and we're looking for that feedback from all of you in the state as you work through it. Hey, this would be a lot easier if we could do this, those sorts of things. So instead of maybe looking at it like the glass is half empty, we need to look at it as if the glass is half full, and this is going to change the way we do what we do.
Okay. Now you mentioned Slack, and that's another item on my list. I guess I mean, we're all trying to get on Slack, and we're trying to get more and more people on Slack. You know, I do hear a lot of people talk about that it just seems very complicated to them. You know, you get so many people on there and talking about all sorts of different things. So do you anticipate any changes to Slack coming about? Because apparently it's going to play a big role going forward, right?
Well, it plays a big role because I can tell you as a state director in Georgia, when we went to the State House, I mean, I literally would send out text messages from my own personal phone to groups that I pre-made to about 700, 800 people. And if I had Slack instead of, and when I would send that out, they'd all reply to me individually.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way to communicate instantaneously with each other than Slack. So there are ways to manage Slack. You can turn off notifications. You can do any number of things to make it more user-friendly for yourselves. And we can have, I mean, there is a class on Slack on COS University.
Right.
But my advice to you in Indiana is to have someone, perhaps your SIA or one of the comms team members, to do some units for your state, because there's no better way to communicate with large groups of people than Slack.
You know, you talk about doing a unit. You can use free conference call to create your own educational piece if you would like to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just have a meeting with yourself and record it. So that can be done.
Yeah, and share with the team, because there are ways to mute it. But I'll tell you guys, there's nothing like when we launch, like when the Dement News came out this morning, and we put those out, and everybody's going and sharing stuff, and everybody's going to comment, hey, I need some help over here. Hey, I need some help over there. Even though you're a past state, you guys, we are a huge part of, I mean, you don't want what Indiana did to be wasted. And unless we get to 34, it's going to be wasted. So we got to all work together across the country, and we can do that in Slack. There's no other way to do that. There's no other way for 800 plus people to communicate from across the country than Slack.
Right.
Hey, Dale and Jackie, this is Peter. Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I love Slack. So
I do too.
I've been using, team communication, personal communication software for decades, and Slack is great. And just so you guys know, Slack is the cool hot thing in the industry, right? It started with programmers and coders to communicate as they're writing software code, but it kind of expanded to any teams. So what you were talking about before, Dale, I mean, I'd be willing to do, I think the best way to train people is not, maybe a recorded thing, but I'd do a live webcast, share my screen, and just kind of walk through it and show people, because there are, different things you have to know how to do, but I don't think it's that difficult. I can take you through the team through, so we can talk about that, Dale. Set up a.
That's a great idea, Peter. We can make a whole webinar out of that.
Yeah, and just get everybody, whoever wants to be on. We can record it too, but that way people are there. They can ask questions. Say, well, how do you do this, or what happens if what's a thread or whatever, right, where it goes off the side, and I can just show people in real time. So anyway,
good.
Didn't mean to. I just am enthusiastic about Slack.
Okay. No, that's great. That's great. Good idea.
And Jackie, I know you aren't. You really don't think Slack's very good at all, right?
I love Slack. Are you kidding? I know.
I'm just kidding, because I'm sitting on the Saturday morning things and stuff, and I know everybody should be on it, right?
She's all over the board on Slack, I'll tell you. All right, Jackie. Touch on, if you would please, this 10 million goal.
Yes.
And I guess the 5 for 5 ties into that too.
Yes, because if we have 2.2 million people right now, if we all went and got 5 people, we'd be at 11 million. And if you look at our trajectory, we are only 4 years old. The first year, we had 1,300 people. So we're 4 years old. Our first year was like, I forget what the first year was. It was like 800 and some % growth.
Mm-hmm.
And then thereafter, it's been 300 to 400%. So as you think of, we're at 12 states right now, and as we grow and get bigger, it is not at all out of line to think of 10 million. It's just the exponential growth gets huge, right? Because really it's only 500%. So, as it's really not, because so far, I mean, we're at 2.2 million. So if you just divide that evenly by the last 4 years, that's, there you go.
Well, it looks to me, when I look at that, 10 million, and I think we're at 2.2, we're talking about a 5-fold increase.
Yep.
So if I apply that to Indiana, we're talking about, we're right around 18,000. Let's just make it easy. We're just short of 20,000 supporters in Indiana. So we're talking about growing to a 5-fold. We're growing to 100,000 followers in Indiana. And
yes.
And you want to do this in a year. Am I right?
Well, that's what we think is going to happen. So we have to prepare our leaders for that. And, Indiana is really quite organized, but you're not nearly as organized as you're going to need to be to really empower and educate 100,000 of your fellow Hoosiers.
That's the other point about it. I mean, if we could grow to 100,000, I mean, that's going to change we're going to have to change our organization to handle that many followers.
Absolutely. So. And we've thought about, the best way, because in reality, Michael Ferris's original plan, which is what our plan is right now, was based upon getting a district captain in every single lower house district in America. That's about 5,347 lower house districts. We've already surpassed that and then each district captain getting 100. Okay, that'd be 534,000 people. We've already surpassed those numbers, but we haven't changed our model. So when we were at Midland this year, and we were talking about this 10 million goal, and we were thinking about the role of the district captain, because a lot of the people who are district captains haven't really thought of themselves as leaders as we always envisioned them to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at it in several different ways, and we had several conversations over military structure, church structure, political structures, things like that. And the model that seems to fit the best is county and precinct. There are 174,000, I can't remember the number, 174,300 and something precincts in the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And if we actually take that number and we actually organize by precinct, and the district captain becomes somewhat like a county chairman, then that's going to give them, I think I studied Rockwall, Texas, which is Brent Dunklow's county, and he had 934 current volunteers in his district. So if you apply that to county and then you apply the precinct model, he would have 17 precinct leaders under him. And in that fashion, I think it worked out to about 55 people per person, which is a much better model than 934 to 1.
Right.
And Texas is a good model because they actually do have 165,000 volunteers in Texas right now.
Oh, it's 165,000?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Okay. Well, that's a lot to think about.
Yes, it is.
It
really is. But you know what? That's the view. And if you prepare now, like you seem to be thinking about it, Americans have been making the impossible possible since 1776, right? So, I think our government is so far out of control, and I think we are going to have the support. And I think, it's entirely possible we end up at tens of millions, because once we start getting to 25, 26 states, I think we're going to have huge exponential growth. And if we have the wireframe there now, we start building the wireframe now, then none of us are going to be shocked or surprised at that point.
You remember me asking you on Slack, I think I said, if we get 10 million, do we become a political party?
Well, you never know, do you?
Because you're 10 million followers, that's certainly more than just an interest group. So,
that's right.
Last topic on in this category is that's the role of the sister state. And am I right that you and Jenny are directors for the sister states, or for the past states?
Well, the way that it's working is we assign certain sister states to certain regional directors. But I wanted to make sure that you guys, because our purpose in the restructure that we did was all of our regional directors had 10 to 12 states, and that's way too many. That's way too many. So we wanted to take the number of states, and in reality, I'll just tell you exactly what we did. We took the 23 states that are possible right now.
Okay.
Okay, because we only need 22. We took the 23 states that are possible, including Colorado and Maine that are purple, and we took those states and divided them between the regional directors. And what that does is concentrate all of our assets where we need them in order to win. And then we assign sister states that have already passed, because the sister states really are the strongest states in the country with the exception of Alaska. I'll tell you, Indiana had the highest growth in the past 2 weeks than any other state in the country.
Wow.
With the volunteers.
Wow.
So our thinking is the states that have been successful have an expertise that the states that have not passed don't have. You guys know what it feels like. You guys have done it. And lending your expertise to the states that have not done it and utilizing your muscle in those states can help push us to 34. And that being said, I wanted to, and not Jenny, but I wanted to act as your backup regional director, because you're going to be working with our RDs. But if you guys need anything, I'm here for all of you. That's what we're doing. We're going to kind of co-direct. I would never pull you away from what the RDs are. I'm just here for support for you in case you don't get it.
Okay. All right, good. Let's move on here. I always try to end my presentations and talks with a quote. And I asked Jackie what her favorite quote might be, and she came back and told me that she had two favorite quotes. One, a favorite founder's quote, and a favorite Convention of States quote. So, Jackie, you can't see the screen, so I guess I'm going to have to read these quotes for you, right?
Go for it, Dale.
Jackie's favorite founder quote is, "If you love wealth better than liberty, the tranquility of servitude better than the animating contest of freedom, go home from us in peace. We ask not your counsels or arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains set lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that ye were our countrymen." And that's Samuel Adams.
Yeah.
I'll drink to
Yeah.
that.
That's one of my favorites.
That's quite a quote, isn't it?
That is an awesome one. I love that one.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel on a day-to-day basis.
Well, and Jackie's favorite Convention of States quote is, and she's even said it tonight earlier, "Our job at Convention of States is to remind America what it's like to be Americans again." So, very good quote. Another very good one. All right.
I've used that for a long time. Whenever anybody tells me no, I'm like, we're not Americans. We are Americans.
Okay, David, any other questions for Jackie?
Well, just one question about the sister state.
Okay.
Last week I had a phone call from one of the other past states. The state director called and wanted to pick my brain about, what is it that we're supposed to do? And during that conversation, we brought up the subject of, when we had the national effort to try to affect the vote out in Utah, and then the effort to get a hold of the Tennessee senator who offered the resolution to rescind in Tennessee. We were successful in Tennessee in getting that off the table. We weren't successful in Utah, and some of the feedback that seemed to come back from Utah was, well, who are these people outside the state? What are they doing contacting us? So it seemed to have, it didn't necessarily have the intended effect. We were wondering, well, how would our sister state effort be perceived by the folks in Virginia? How do we go about getting the positive effect and having Virginia become a past state rather than upsetting the folks of Virginia with, well, who are you? You don't live here, and why are you contacting me? Which is the kind of attitude we got, it seemed like, from Utah. How do we do that?
Well, I need to explain something to you about Utah, because when we do national calls to action like Utah, it's not necessarily that we're going to change the mind of the Utah Senate. What it does is it illustrates the power of the grassroots with Convention of States and lets those people in Utah know that those our fellow COS supporters in Utah have an army backing them. We win some and we lose some. And of course, they're always going to say, I don't want to talk to you because you're an out-of-stater. But what we do accomplish is the minute that went down and the minute that 15,000 emails went into that state house, those legislators talked together like you have no idea. They all knew within hours that we had launched our grassroots on Utah. The sister state program is a different thing altogether. And what we have to think about, and this is the way that I think about it, I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. I don't want my work in Georgia. I don't want your work in Indiana. I don't want all the work that we've done in the 12 states to go down, that we failed. And this is an American mission. This is not necessarily a state mission. If there are district captains in Indiana who would like to help district captains in Virginia, then I think the states need to get together and you need to assign them and let them help each other. Citizen Builder is going to let us do that in ways that we could not do that before. There are 3 senators in Virginia stopping that thing from going through. 3. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
So my recommendation is that the state leaders of Indiana get on a call with the state leaders of Virginia and figure out how to grow those 3 districts in ways that has not been done before, and work together. We've got the 3-way calling. We've got COS voices. We've got other ways to do things now that we did not have before, that do not have to be national, that can be done within Virginia. And people appreciate help. There's a lot of people who are afraid to call their legislators.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are afraid to call their legislators. And if Indiana were to take, okay, let's look at those Senate districts. Virginia, where can we call them? Where can we help? Can we get petition signatures? Can we call and have calls put in the constituents, right? And help them call their senators because they've never done it before. There are positive ways and there are negative ways.
Right.
So, Mark makes the decision on national calls to action, and sometimes he does that just so the nation knows and the legislator knows that we have the grassroots army and it's real.
Okay.
But I think the Sister State program is different altogether than that. And I can tell you, if Virginia feels like they have backing in Indiana, that's going to make them not feel so isolated after they throw themselves at that brick wall every year for 4 years.
Right. Well, that's essentially what I ended up saying to the other state director was that our effort here in Indiana and all the other past states will be for nothing if we don't get to 34. And what I heard was from the other state leader was, well, we need to focus on maintaining our state team, and we need to focus on growing our state team. But it's like, well, that might be true. We need to continue to grow our team within our own state. But just focusing on that and never getting to 34, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
We got to get to 34.
Well, yeah. And I'm going to tell you something else that's really important. And this happens sometimes. When we have leaders, they forget that this isn't just about Virginia. Right. This isn't just about them. This is about our fellow Americans. And some of the leaders in the country will say, oh, I don't need a grassroots army. I can go do this myself. And that is not good. If we have people standing, volunteering, wanting to be part of something, I think this Sister State program could really springboard growth in Indiana because you're still doing something. And you're still organizing. And you're still making a difference in our country. And if you want me to help you guys with a call to Virginia, but my hope is that you guys would come up with all kinds of creative ideas on how this can work and how you can help.
Yes. Yeah.
And we will. I mean, we are certainly going to do our part in this. So there are already some things.
Virginia is not open to that help, though. You guys need to let me know because there may be another state that would be dying to have your help.
Oh no, I don't think that's the case.
Okay.
I don't think so either. I think that
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah. And
okay, if anybody ever needs ideas, you know my number. Just call me because I always have ideas.
You always have ideas. That's a good place to end this right now, to tell you the truth. Our time's about up. So, any other questions, David, or any comments from anyone before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I know we only have a minute left. This is Peter. I just want to thank you, Jackie, for joining this call and doing this interview. It's really good. I just tell you, when I started joining the Convention of States and went on some of these DC and leadership calls, you're always very inspiring the way you talk about the different quotes and the what we're doing here. So I appreciate you doing this for us.
Yes.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. So
thank you. Thank you so much for your time this evening, Jackie.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Robert
All right,
Hall.
folks. Oh, yeah. Yes, Robert.
Robert Hall.
Yeah.
Jackie, when are you moving back to Indiana?
I'm here, Robert, and I'm close to you.
When are we going to meet?
You just let me know when.
What's the name of the town you live in, Jackie?
Nineveh, Indiana.
Jesus. Yeah, Nineveh or...
Nineveh. I'm right next to Camp Atterbury. What time?
Near Edinburgh Shopping Mall.
There you go. Exactly.
Robert, is she in your region?
She's in my
65.
in the Red District. Yeah.
She's in your.
Yeah, she's not that far away.
Right.
I've got a meeting my grassroots core team on Thursday night at the library.
What time, Robert?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Well, we can go till 9.
You're on Slack, Robert, aren't you?
I'm on what?
Are you on Slack?
I am sometimes.
Okay. Well, if you'll Slack me or email me, I'll be there.
Okay. I'm sure I have your email somewhere.
Okay. It's jpeterson@cosaction.com. Love to be there.
Got it. Okay. Great.
Yeah,
right.
Jackie. Robert has a fabulous grassroots conservative group there and it's kind of the template that we're trying to implement around the state. So
okay,
that would be nice if you could go and give us your feedback on that.
I'll do it. All right, Robert.
All right.
Let me know. I'll be
Okay,
there.
guys. Anything else? Anything else?
Just one thing, Dale. This is Diane. I was late to the call, and I just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job, and I'm so glad Jackie's a Hoosier now. That makes me really happy.
In the house. Yes, me too. Back home again in Indiana. That's a song, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Jim Neighbors would sing that at the Indy 500, right?
There you go.
Yeah. I guess once a Hoosier, always a Hoosier, huh?
That's right. You're exactly right.
All right, Jackie, thank you very much, and thanks everyone for participating. And
thank you, Dale.
This recording, I'll get the link out to everyone, and hopefully other people will be able to see it too. So, thank you, and everyone. Have a good evening.
Godspeed, Patriot. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good night.